Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with legendary New Orleans jazz trumpeter, singer, and composer Kermit Ruffins. Along with gigs and constant activity, he's promoting 2017's A Beautiful World CD with Irvin Mayfield. He spent his childhood in New Orleans, that's his home, and he was influenced by Louis Armstrong. And he would go on to become the co-founder of the Rebirth Brass Band back in '83, and he's the original founder of the Barbecue Swingers, and that came about in 1992. Over the years, he's done so many projects, like playing himself on HBO Series Treme, and he has over 15 albums plus to his credit, including live albums and so many others. So please, get to know him and dig this interview, my friends.
Okay, Kermit, hey, thanks for taking a minute out for me today, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
So let me go ahead and start off here. Before we get to your beautiful city of New Orleans, I want to talk to you about this latest album, A Beautiful World with Irvin Mayfield. It's a great album. Talk to me about how this album came about and how you feel about it.
Well, it was Basin Street Records 20 years ago. I recorded live with the Barbecue Swingers at Trumpeter. And we decided, me, Irvin, and Mark had a meeting and decided to have a 20-year anniversary kind of CD, a music tribute to Basin Street Records and to New Orleans, period, and to the world. So we decided to get as many musicians from New Orleans and around, and not even just New Orleans, we had like Haley Reinhardt on there. She's not from New Orleans. So we had about 60 musicians on there, came together, and out of 2 months, we came up with a beautiful CD, Beautiful World.
Right on. You know, there's a lot of names that are synonymous with New Orleans and that jazz sound and that legacy, and your name is right on top of that list. Talk to me about how a kid from New Orleans got this jazz bug and became such a force in the world of music.
Oh, thank you, man. I grew up in the Lower Ninth Ward. My uncle, Percy Williams, plays trumpet with Irma Thomas. My mom's brother, Percy Williams, he would come by my house when I was about 6 years old, and let me play on his trumpet every Saturday almost. And I just fell in love with the instrument. At about 14 years old, I got my first trumpet, and I just played in the marching band and all the Mardi Gras parades and what have you. And before you know it, I left the Lower Ninth Ward and came to the Treme area at Clark Senior High School and met Phil Frazier and got turned on to a whole another way of living as far as New Orleans style of living, as far as the culture of the Mardi Gras Indians, the brass bands, the jazz bands, Louis Armstrong, which I had no idea who he was until I was about 17, 18 years old, which is kind of incredible to see I was living in the city all that time. But the Lower Ninth Ward is totally different. All we had was down there. There's a lot of R&B music that was on the radio, the Commodores and all that kind of stuff that I was really listening to when I was a kid. So I met Phil Frazier at Clark Senior High School, and we started the Rebirth Brass Band. We started studying the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, the Olympia Brass Band, and the Rebirth is a mixture of those two brass bands put together, I would always say. And then I heard Louis Armstrong for the first time on a jukebox, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The song was When You're Smiling, and the solo just was so grand, you know. Just never heard nothing like that in my entire life. And I said, that's what I want to be able to do. But then I just started studying Louis Armstrong and watching old black and white videos of Louis Armstrong and listening to Coltrane in black and white. We would sit down and watch black and white videos all day long, drinking beer and smoking reefer. So I got hooked on that New Orleans traditional music. I just lost it to the point where that's all I would do all day long. And I think that kind of had a lot to do with me being able to have so much fun on the bandstand and bringing the music to the world.
That's a great segue. Very natural about who you are and how you are. Your home is on stage. Have you ever been nervous, or is the home an extension of who you are as a person?
Good question. I'm quite sure it's an extension. But every time I hit the stage, I'm always in this picnic frame of mind. And that's how that barbecue stuff started, where I just love the idea of a family picnic and a band playing. So when I get on stage, I'm just in the frame of mind that I'm playing for my family, and we had a big picnic. and I can't even shrug that. You know, it just happens like that to the point where from the time I wake up, I'm waiting to hit the stage.
Beautiful. You know, there's something to be said about longevity, and you've been going at it for a long, long time. What keeps you going? What is the fuel beneath your desire to be a performer and to keep pushing yourself musically into new creative realms?
Well, man, I think it's nothing but love because, like I said before, I just fell in love with that music. And up to the day, I'm sitting down almost every day with my small TV in my bar, the Mother-in-Law Lounge, pulling up old black and white videos, Louis Prima. I could watch Louis Prima all day long. Banana splits for my baby and a glass of plain water for me. You know, I mean, that stuff is just classic. And to watch how those guys entertain and have fun on stage, I just never get tired of it. I think about Dizzy Gillespie almost every day, black and white, sunny side of the street, which is just incredible. Lionel Hampton, my God.
You know, you've had a very rich life. You've been a part of the HBO series Treme. You've been all over the world. You've been recognized with awards. What has happened in your life that surprised you the most? Like the first place you saw somebody you met, something that went down that just totally blew you away and formed a good part of your psyche that made you happy about life?
Oh, man, I would have to say watching all those black and white videos and then all of a sudden traveling to Europe like maybe 12 summers in a row, and then seeing Dizzy Gillespie live on stage, seeing Cam Calloway after I watched all those videos, on the bus with Lionel Hampton at the Nice Jazz Fest, going from the hotel to the gig, from the gig to the hotel, backstage hanging out with Wynton Marsalis, watching Wynton Marsalis on stage, having Wynton come play tambourine with the Rebirth Brass Band at the North Sea Jazz Festival. I mean, it's a number of things that kind of just all come together that kind of just made me excited about this whole lifestyle.
You know, so you talk about Wynton and you talk about Lionel and you talk about these great players, these legends that you've been around in your life. And by osmosis, they're teaching you something. At that point, you're like, you were getting taught something. What did these guys teach you to help you be an effective teacher to young guys that have gotten around you and play?
Well, I have to tell you, the biggest thing that really hit me is when I think we were in Vienna, Austria, and Wynton Marsalis was about to go on stage, and I watched that show, and then he offered me to ride back with him to the hotel. Then when we got to the hotel, we were all at the bar with a bunch of musicians, and Wynton is just preaching and preaching and preaching. And I've just never been so inspired by anybody in my life as far as how positive and just that one conversation and that one talk jam session that we had, it just took me over the top. And we realized that I can do anything, you know, it just makes you realize that you can do anything you want to do.
You know, the Marsalis family is always overwhelmingly positive about jazz, and there's a lot of jazz education in this country. You're a torchbearer for the old and new school of jazz. What is happening in jazz that's going to make this art form last forever?
Well, as far as New Orleans is concerned, there are so many young musicians right now, hundreds, at least thousands right now in high school that can get on stage and stand next to me and play their butts off. If not just like me, better than me. And they're learning to read and write music where I didn't have that opportunity to have piano lessons or anything. I just learned to read music, and then after that, I just started playing by ear after graduating high school. You just listen to music and just learn it, you know. But the young kids today, I mean, there's so many of them, and it's every day there's 100 more kids getting instruments. So it's overwhelming with young kids right now. So this music's going to be here forever.
Beautiful. This is a simple question, but it can pack a punch. Why do you love jazz?
Oh, that's a good question. It feels so good. It's so spiritual, you know. It's really a spiritual music. It's spiritual first, then it's technical. But it's like going to church, you know.
When the world peels back the layers, not only of New Orleans jazz, but jazz overall, your name is going to be right up there on that list. of all the energy and good that you put on the stage and all the albums and everything you put out there with love, how do you want the world? I know you're far from being done, but just kind of in a slight retrospect, sitting on the porch with a beer in your hand, you think about your life. How do you want the world of jazz to remember what you did? You as you. What do you want them to know?
That I definitely had a time of my life, and I don't regret anything that I went through to get to the little spot that I'm in right now. And I just want people to look back at me like they look at Louis Armstrong. And Louis Armstrong is the best that ever did it. He played on the highest technical level ever, and spiritually and soul all together.
So everyone has a version of who you are, your family, your friends, your fans. But who do you think you are? When you wake up, you face today, and you live your life, who are you?
I feel so freaking average to the point where it's not even funny. I hang out with the people that so to speak have nothing every day of the week. And, you know, to them they don't have anything, but they have life. You know, and I'm always around people that's everyday people. I'm never hanging with the high and mighty ever. Never, ever. I'm hanging with all my high school buddies. Half of them went to penitentiary and got out. And that's how I grew up, and that's the people I know. So that's what I do every day of the week without even thinking about what I'm doing. You know, there's no plan or anything. It's just what I do.
Right on. Kermit, I know your time is precious. I thank you for taking some time out for me today. I'm looking forward to presenting this to the audience. And good luck with everything, man. I love your music. Thank you for all the music.
I sure appreciate you too, man. Thank you.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New Orleans, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Kermit for his time, his stories, and all of that cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Well, all right. Whatever you say. Well, all right. Well, all right. Well, all right.
Neon Jazz.